Year of the Pig to start with big bounty for people of the world. The Chinese New Year, the Year of the Pig, starts February 5th and sets up this year to be a year of bounty, where people can fit at the trough to their hearts where people can fit at the trough to their heart's content. Asian Secret Society sources Asian Secret Society sources say the year of the pig or boar is associated with the hours 9:11 at night, which means the world is also set to get truth and closure on the mass murder and attempted gold haste of September 11, 2001. The sources say, however, this year is also said to be a year of slaughter for certain elite criminals who have been trying their hardest to murder 90% of the world's population, according to Western secret society sources. It is the return of the bounty stolen by these criminals that will be fitting to the downtrodden 90%, they say. In concrete terms, the British branch and most of the French branch of the Rothschild family are trying to negotiate an orderly transfer of power, according to CIA sources based in Asia. The Rothschilds and the other families that own the private G7 central banks are hoping to trade the control of here and now money, ATMs, cash printing, financial computers, and international financial transfer systems in exchange for some real life access, such as rights to some of the historical Asian gold, the sources say. These negotiations are ongoing, but one thing that has now already been decided is that the United Nations will be moving its headquarters from New York to Laos. Only those of high energy who are ready to help humanity move forward, clean up the clean up the pollution on this planet, and create a new world of peace and harmony for all living beings will be allowed to reside in the new headquarters. In other words, all new members who actually represent the inhabitants of this world, a source said. The US government has been funded until Friday, February 15th, so that certain major announcements related to these and other matters can be made over the following long weekend, which celebrates George Washington's birthday, according to Pentagon and CIA sources. However, there are still some tough issues that need to be negotiated between now and then, say Asian and Western secret society sources. One issue concerns the arrest of Meng Wanzhou, chief financial officer of China's Huawei Technologies. It turns out that the real reason Western intelligence community ordered her arrest was not for fraud, but rather because Huawei was moving ahead at a blistering speed with the rollout of 5G wireless technology, even though it has been found by scientists to damage human brains and disrupt natural living systems. The idiots in the Western intelligence services, so used to lying to the public, should have just said this in the first place, instead of saying it was because she circumvented US sanctions on Iran, saying it was because they circumvented US sanctions on Iran, saying it was because they circumvented US sanctions on Iran. This was a stupid public excuse because, as Canada's recently fired ambassador to China John McCallum noted, Canada does not sign on to these Iran sanctions. In fact, last week, Germany, France, and the UK set up a special purpose vehicle to let companies and countries avoid the sanctions. imposed by the government of US President Donald Trump. This announcement is important because it is the first Western-backed system that goes around the cabal-controlled SWIFT international transaction system. The SWIFT system is now requiring people to register a personal tax identification number, the mark of the beast, in order to send money via its system. The controllers The controllers of the old financial system face many other defeats last week. One big one was their failure to steal Venezuela oil resources by placing one of their flunkies in charge. Venezuelans figured this out when so-called opposition leader Juan Guaido revealed his true colors last week by promising to privatize, for example, hand over to the Gazarian mafia, Venezuela's oil resources, the world's largest. A cabal attempt to overthrow the government of Zimbabwe, steal gold, diamonds, rare metals, and other resources by jacking up oil prices also failed last week. Another sign that the old order was panicking over a loss of control. Last week, the U.S. Senate voted 68 to 23 against U.S. troop withdrawal from Syria and Afghanistan. The senators were in fact voting against a cabal loss of revenue from stolen Syrian oil and Afghan heroin, noted CIA and Pentagon sources. Both Zimbabwe and Venezuela were targeted because they have been pioneers in issuing a currency based on real-world assets and not illusion, and as has been the case with G7 central bank currency. Pentagon sources note, the era of asset-backed currencies has begun, the Pentagon sources say. The Pentagon sources are also now saying the failed coup in Venezuela may have been a gambit to expose neocons while China for a trade deal. In any case, the sources say we can expect more surprises after Trump delivers his State of the Union speech on February 5th, which happens to be the Chinese New Year. CIA sources are also saying Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner's time in the White House may be up. Both CIA and MI6 believe Kushner to become promised, both sexually and financially, and is clearly an unregistered agent of a foreign power. U.S. counterintelligence specialists had denied Kushner any security clearance on this basis, only to be overruled by someone acting in the name of the president. Now, Democrats are calling for a special investigation that will properly reveal that Kushner is as much of a criminal as his father was, receiving tens of millions in cash under the table in New York City, and now tens of millions in bribes for representing the Zionist state of Israel in the White House. President Donald Trump is highly furious with his so-called intelligence chiefs, particularly the Director of National Intelligence Dan Coats, who continues to fit the Russian election interference story with the phone's testimony to Congress. Robert David Steele, former spy recommended for the Nobel Peace Prize in 2017, has dismantled Coats in a new article that points out that China, Iran, and Russia spent at most 1% of what Zionist Pam Shelter Alderson and many others spent. Israel, not Russia, is the foreign power managing U.S. elections. While Steele refers to these people as Zionists, many of them in fact are Satanists, More and more of these groups are now being flushed out into the open. In Brazil, for example, the world is now finding out that spiritual leader John of God was keeping young girls as sex slaves, selling their children, and then killing them after 10 years of breeding. It would be nice to think that at least the children were adopted into happy homes, but unfortunately, many of them were probably murdered into the harvest in order to harvest blood and adrenochrome. Vatican sources alerted us last week to a dark website that purports to sell this substance. Here is the part of what it says. The adrenochrome C9H9NO3 compound is synthesized by by the oxidation of adrenaline sourced from the blood of human children. Adrenochrome is purest product of the market, harvested under strictly regulated conditions from our international supply chain of child donors. The blood of children and virgins in particular has long been converted for its life-giving properties, both as a sacrificial offering and the substance to be ritually imbibed. It's a powerful rejuvenating psychotropic elixir, psychotropic elixir harvested from the pineal gland of child donors. Virginia Democratic Governor Ralph Northam's comments supporting the killing of third trimester babies after they have left their mothers' wombs should be seen in this context. It would not surprise me if Northam, who was a pediatric neurosurgeon, made money from selling adrenochrome. You can rest assured that the White Dragon Society and its allies will continue to hunt down and arrest or kill all of these scum of the earth until not one of them is left either free or alive. Of course, in order not to become which we are fighting, the W the WDS prefers public, evidence-based trials to extrajudicial killing. To that end, we are pushing for Nuremberg-type trials to start as soon as possible, in order to sort out the two criminals who are beyond truth and reconciliation. Only then we can start a wonderful new age in which all children, weak creatures, and everybody else can feel safe and loved.